Hey there, Natalie. How's it going? Here is your bass lesson video. Let's start with how to hold the thing. What people intuitively do is end up with the fretboard down here, having to steady it in uncomfortable ways. What we're going to do is go, okay, there's this indentation, I'm going to put that on my leg, and then move it a little farther over to the right than what's intuitive. And with the bass about 1 inch away from my torso, I'm going to, lean it back against me. That should have the bass more or less at this angle. We're going to, as opposed to down here. We're going to be trying to hold it up 0% with our left hand. We steady the bass by that slight lean back against ourselves, but primarily with our right hand. And as you know, we're just using these two fingers. Let's talk about our positioning. So we are going to rest our thumb on the pickup, but we want to be in this position where our fingers end up fairly straight. And as we discussed in the lesson, it's kind of a feeling of pushing in at the instrument rather than up, which is totally how you play guitar because you want long notes. Whereas we often have to tone control on bass and do things on our right hand that ends up muting. This is the first string, this is the fourth string. So let's say I'm hitting the fifth string. I want my natural positioning to be coming to rest on the fourth string when I do that. And we're E, A, D, G. We talked about how to use a tuner, but yeah, we'll get to other stuff. So I believe during the lesson you were a little farther out in front of the instrument, sort of with your wrist in that position. Instead, we're going to come in all the way to here, where we're in this somewhat comfortable ergonomic position where we just got our hand flopped there. And the thumb on the pickup, it's not really that I'm resting the weight of my hand on my thumb, it's just that that's a good reference point for visually where we want to end up. So why don't you just try hitting the strings some, just on each string, just go 1, 2, 1, 2. And at any tempo, just kind of get used to the range of motion we're going to be using. And I'm just hitting the open strings. I'm not playing any fretted notes. So I just noticed this string was out of tune a little bit. The way you tune by ear is you play the 5th fret of a string and compare it to the open string underneath it. You would use that if, and it works for all of them. So if I noticed one string was out of tune, I don't want to have to grab the tuner. But that's an aside. Here we are with our hand like this. Please pause your video and just think about some right hand stuff before we start straightening your left hand. Cool, so you're going to be tempted to curl your fingers up more and be in a position where you can see your fingers. Let's just realizing not seeing them is okay. Or if you want to see them, you can lean your head over like that, just even a little bit, and you'll be able to see. But we're going for a nice ergonomic position here. On bass, though, you'll see plenty of people using unconventional technique. We do want to be able to use all our fingers. And that leaves us in what we refer to as classical thumb position, where we're right smack in the middle of the fretboard as opposed to coming up higher on it. Giving us access to all 4 of our fingers and a clean 3 fingers all over 3 frets situation versus something where it's more bunched up. And since we've got you from square one here, and as someone with fairly small hands, this will be more important for you than it would be for somebody where there's like this up there as well. I have fairly small hands for a guy also. But yeah, that's what we get. We got our wrist more out in front of here than we anticipate. If you want to trick yourself into doing it, you could put all 4 fingers on the bass string where none of them feel like they're in a reach position. But mostly we're just using these 3 this week anyhow. We're going to put a pin in. I also use my pinky in that position. So elbow. Here I am at the 5th fret. 3, 5, 7, 12. And the 12th fret is where it repeats. E, A, D, G again. So my arm's going to be parallel. When I get down around the 2nd fret, 3rd fret, we talked about how there's going to be like the ping pong ball or racquetball between your elbow and your torso, so that when you move down here, it doesn't get awkward. I want to remind you at this point, you don't want the bass at this angle. We want it to be more or less at a right angle. We're already asking a lot of our hand like this without putting it out there too. And reminder, just be sure regularly that both hands are as you mean to have them. Unless you don't have a lot of tension in your body anywhere. Also, the more time you can spend going, okay, I'm getting in good position before I start playing, the easier this will all go. And that moment of thinking about that will become so insignificant that it becomes default, etc. It'll be really quick before you know it. Anyway, so if I were down here, I'd move my elbow off my body, but I believe on your page we're going 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret. Now what I'm not doing is going, like we talked about during class, and it's totally fine to flop down on all the strings. Guitar, we do this. Violin, we do this. Here we're actually deliberately muting these other strings when we're playing on the strings, since we're not really playing chords as much on bass. Since they chords sort of sound pretty muddy, thick. Cool. So that's us. We're not going seesaw, and being out here like this is more a cause for accidental seesaw, or potentially having your thumb up too high. So yeah, that's us just going, I have 3 fingers. At the moment, just use whatever right hand combination. Just focus on one string and getting a clean, pause the video. It can be anywhere between the frets, just not on the metal things. And if anything, you want to be farther towards the far side, but that's just so that you don't go all the way back here where you get the buzz. So anywhere in between is cool, tending towards the far side, closer to the pickups. Cool, so let's just pause the video and do some, be sure you're not bending the string also. Cool, now just branch out, do that on the other strings. At this point, it's fine if you just use your first finger for everything. We're deliberately focusing on this hand, and we're deliberately ignoring all musical elements, like let's play a melody. So go ahead and pause and just work on that. We're focused on our left hand technique and overall positioning. Cool. Now right hand wise, when we're playing through this series that I guess sounds like, so you could play it much slower, or in theory out of rhythm entirely. I'm going, this, alternating between my fingers, which if we started to play fast, that would be the only way to do it since we can't do that fast. Cool, so we are going, and on your page I'm writing 1, 2, so yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, etc. Alternate picking throughout the whole pattern. So go ahead and now add that element, but only after the left hand portion is feeling intuitive. So now you're going. Cool. So right hand wise, just reminding you to be in this position, and we were looking at come to rest on the string of the reminder. Cool. So I think that's the vast majority of what we did. I might have given you the major scale, where here's the note G and C, A and D. I believe those, and then B and E. We talked about how we were going to memorize those like a geography test, just make flashcards in theory, which one is D, not reasoning our way to figuring out if this is C, I'll know that's D, or I'm only allowed to think about this being D if I go G, C, A, D, but actually just memorizing it. Cool, so if I put my middle finger on A here, we're going, and that's just you being able to look at, here's how one way to play the major scale. And just for that same octave, there's like 4 or 5 good ways to do it. But this is usually the first fingering that people learn when they're learning the major scale. If this wasn't on your page, I'm going on this string, 5th fret, 7th fret, then 4th, 5th, 7th, then 4th, 6th, 7th. So there now we are using our pinky, so I'm pretty sure we didn't do that. But if you finish all the other stuff that I gave you, that works. So yeah, you could just work on picking the individual strings, getting used to going, etc. So it is just straight fingers like that, and that is you playing bass this time. Let's get into some actual songs, by all means, including White Wedding, at your next lesson, and I hope you're doing really well. See you soon.